Hello, this is my second part to my three-part reply to user WeFallDown. Where was I? Oh yes, I left you with the Bible is completely and totally inaccurate and it disagrees with itself and it contradicts itself in many places. So now I shall move on. The next point, the heavens proclaim the glory of God. How? What I see when I look up at the heavens, oh by the way, you're right on that point, it is fucking awesome. It is amazing. But there's no intelligent design up there. What there is up there is physics in action. And we know it's physics in action because it obeys all the laws of physics. There's not a God up there sitting there putting things together and making stars. So on that point, you failed again. Right, now let's move on to your next point. No God required, I'm afraid, so on that point, fail. Now you say God has made it known to men. Well, I'm a man. I consider myself fairly intelligent. I'm obviously better educated than you, but that's beside the point. Right. Where has he made it plain and evident? If he'd made it plain and evident, do you think I'd be an atheist? Do you think if I could find one single solitary fact that I would be an atheist? The reason why I'm an atheist is because there is no evidence for God, gods, goddesses, supernatural beings. I thought I'd just better make that point again, because it's not just your God I don't believe in, it's every God. Just like you don't believe in every other God except yours. And as I said before, if you know why you don't believe in other gods, you'll know why I don't believe in yours. Intellectual reasons are the only reason why I reject all religions as being false. They are the works of men, they are not the works of divine. They were created by people who didn't have the tools to understand better. They saw the sun coming up and they didn't know why it did that. They didn't know why rain fell. And so they came up with the idea of supernatural deities of sorts, or spirits that brought the rain, that made sickness, that made the sun come up. And you believe them. You believe all these superstitions. You know, we're way beyond that. As human beings now, we have the tools. We know where the rain comes from. We know how it's made. We know how stars are made. We know how planets formed. We know how the universe started. I'm not saying we know how it got here exactly, but we know how it started. And we know almost everything right up until this point now. I'm not saying we know everything, but we do know about how stars, planets. We have a fair idea of how life even started, a biogenesis. And that's not even into the scientific theory stage as yet, not completely developed, I'll give you that. But all the evidence so far points out as most of the theories of abiogenesis as being correct. Why do they point that way? Because the facts support it. And as I've said before, none of the facts point towards a supernatural deity, a god, gods, goddesses, supernatural beings. Not a single, solitary, provable, repeatable fact. Brilliant, intelligent design. I mentioned before about humans and junk DNA, but let's just talk about humans again and design. Humans are not exactly well designed, you know. You know, you might think so, but as a design, I reckon a third-year engineering student could do a lot better at designing a human being. Why do we have an appendix? That's a jolly good question. If we were designed by a perfect God, why would he give us an appendix when it's not needed? Are you thinking on that one? Are you thinking about the appendix? There are also other bits and pieces. Why, again, as I say, why all that junk DNA? Why do we have the ability to grow gills? Why do we have the genes that would allow us to grow fur? I mean, without, and in some people it's turned on occasionally and you get these hairy people. But why do we all have it? Can you answer that one? It's a very, very poor design if it was designed. But I'll tell you what would explain all those things about why human beings have gills and stuff like that. Do you want to know what it is? Shall I say the word? I know it's a word you hate, but it's evolution. Now, earlier on, I sent you a couple of videos, or rather I tried to share with you a couple of videos that I made. And the first one was, evolution is just a theory. I hope you watch that. I really, really hope you watch it. And Evolution, a Beginner's Guide. Now, if you haven't watched them and you thought, well, who the fuck's this guy sending me these? Just go back to your inbox and watch them, then come back and then we'll move on again, because then you'll understand why I believe in evolution. I believe in evolution because well, it's not I believe in evolution. Sorry, I should take that back, because you'll try and find some way of twisting it. I should say I accept evolution, because evolution is a scientific theory and a fact as well. And the fact of evolution, and we know it's a fact because we can observe evolution in action. We can see it happening, even if it's just down the end of a microscope looking at little germs, or even looking at fruit flies like Drusilla. They've all been studied, the reports are well written up, the information is out there, you can Google it on the net if you like. There's no problem there. So evolution is a fact, and the theory of evolution is how we explain the fact of evolution. Again, no design, no intelligent force necessary for evolution to work. Now, when you say you cannot say it was designed after looking at the facts, I ask you again, what facts? Now, I've given you loads for you to think about. If you go back and watch the other videos, you'll see why evolution is not just a theory, but a scientific theory. And you'll see on the other one is how evolution works. Now, these are facts. They are facts, and you can't deny them unless you're crazy, unless you're a moron, unless you've been brainwashed, unless you're a fucking religious idiot. Whoa! Right, we'll move on to your next point. Your next point is that the reason why I don't believe in a God is because I want to sin. And I'm not a moral person. Well, let's see. Let's list the way in which I'm moral. I don't cheat, I don't lie, I don't steal, I'm not promiscuous, I've been married quite happily for the past 15 years, I don't kill people, let's see, I can't really think of any others, I don't bear false witness, but that's got absolutely nothing to do with the Bible, it's just that it is not nice, you shouldn't lie about people. And why shouldn't you lie about people? Because it's not nice. I wouldn't like people to lie about me, so I don't lie about them. I don't beat people up. I'm not violent. See, I could keep on going in all the ways I'm a very moral person. But obviously, I'm just an atheist because I want to sin. I don't think I actually do sin. Not even in the sense, the Christian sense. If I went to a Catholic church, my confessions would be very, very boring. I don't have lustful thoughts except about my wife, She's the only woman I do lust after, so I don't even suffer that sin. And even that's allowed in the Bible. I'm allowed to think rude thoughts about my partner. Sorry, I better stop. I'm getting myself all worked up here. Right. Yeah, I think it's best that we do stop here now. So, anyway, we'll call this the end of part 2. We fall down. Don't go anywhere, because I haven't quite finished with you. I've got one more part to this reply to your video. And don't worry, I'll be back with part 3, and I'll offend you again later.